The first thing I want to say is that this is going to be recorded and we're going to be posting it on YouTube for other people to watch later. So for any of our attendees, if you're not comfortable with that, you can feel free to leave the event and then watch it on YouTube later. But I want to, put that out there. Um, Please type your questions into the chat box as we're going along, and then I'll moderate those questions as we go. And we'll leave time for questions at the end of our event today. And before we get started, I want to tell you about another great event that West Shore has coming up on this coming Monday, November 23rd. West Shore is doing a panel discussion about the book Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. Several professors will discuss different areas of the book, which is being used in several classes this semester. I don't know if anyone's read it, but it's historical fiction. It's really interesting and moving. And to register for that, please visit the West Shore website or the Facebook page. So to start off, my name is Renee Snodgrass. I'm the Director of Library Services here at West Shore. This discussion that we're going to have tonight follows one that we had back in September, which feels like about a year ago, about COVID and health, and answering questions about how COVID spreads and what it's like to have it. Our discussion tonight will focus on businesses and the economy. So we've all heard on the national news about how businesses are struggling, but what about our local businesses? My hope is that we can take on this huge issue and bring it to a local level by talking to experts and business owners in our own communities. So with that, I'd like to introduce our four panelists tonight. Stacy Bytwork is president of the Manistee Area Chamber of Commerce, a position she's held since 2013. She's also the chair of the Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance, which is a coalition of 16 chambers and economic development organizations and over 7,000 member businesses from across Northern Michigan. Jen Tuman is the marketing and communications manager for the Downtown Ludington Board. Jen organizes events and promotes businesses in downtown Ludington. Jamie Adam is the sales and events manager for Ludington Bay Brewing Company in downtown Ludington, where she has worked since 2017. Before that, she was the food and beverage director for the Palace of Auburn Hills. She oversees brewery distribution and internal and external events. And then Adam Wagner was scheduled to be here tonight and he couldn't make it. So in his stead is Tyler Hillier, also from Wagner Home and Outdoor, which has been in business for about 3 years, I believe. And it's a staff of Adam and 5 people who do construction, remodeling, and lawn care in the Ludington area. So with that, I think we're going to start with Stacy. I'm sorry if I butchered your last name.
No, you actually got it correctly. So good job. I say it's my husband's last name.
Exactly. So if you want to start us off and talking about your perspective on the pandemic and your line of work and within your chamber in Manistee.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it. And I liked your intro because you saved me from going in about the Alliance because we do a lot of advocacy work as a chamber for our region. And then obviously with the pandemic, when that hit, advocacy was in high gear. So when everything started to happen, looking back to March, obviously, we all pulled together a lot of our chambers, other organizations to really look at what can we do for our business community, because that's our Chamber of Commerce. We help economic growth and support our businesses. So when this hit, it was kind of like panic mode for a lot of people because, not knowing what to do. And if you look at our seasonal businesses, they were just starting to rehire staff, getting ready, gearing up for the summer. And then, the pandemic hits and then staffing issues happen. All the extra protocols and guidelines that were in place and what's happening and kind of the unknown and where's the revenue stream coming in if there's a shutdown. So our team assembled as best we could with our advocacy work, our marketing, and then obviously business assistance to figure out every possible grant opportunity, anything we could provide to them. And then we disseminated that information on newsletters. They started coming out pretty rapidly in the beginning, but I think everyone, when this hit, was inundated with so much information that what we did was kind of compiled all that in an easy read for our businesses, because when this hit, I mean, everybody's scrambling on what to do. Are we in violation? Are we doing this right? How are we going to pay staff? How are we going to keep everybody healthy? What's the health department saying? So we try to be that number one resource for our community of Manistee County to do that, and really lend that hand to our businesses on, how can we help you? I mean, we were making personal calls if we saw a loan that came in, looking at the federal loans all the way down to the MEDC loans or something locally that would happen, and who could qualify and would help them and connect them to the right resources, just to make sure that we could keep our economy going during this, you know, pandemic that personally I've never seen anything like that in my lifetime, and I'm sure a lot of other people have it. So it was kind of, everyone scrambling to figure out what direction to go. So that's kind of, where we're at. And we worked really closely with our regional economic development office, with Networks Northwest, and with the MEDC grants that came out. So I wanted to just mention those. The Small Business Relief Fund was the first one that came out, and we received over 65 applications for that, and it was nearly 1.3 million were requested in receiving funds. So that's how much need that was in that initial stage when this all hit. So, we were able to provide those grants going forward to a lot of the businesses. And then also when the next round came with the relief, the small business restart grants, we were able to award 20 of those grants through the MEDC and Networks Northwest just to Manistee County to keep a lot of our businesses afloat. And, I think a lot of the different sectors and industries that have been hit, but, looking at what we're in right now, and I'm sure, Jamie, you'll be able to talk about this in a minute, but is obviously our hospitality, our restaurants, our bars, our lodging properties, with that service industry, that's been really tough. So that's something that, we're always trying to pivot and help them. But I also think some of the, I don't want to make it all gloom and doom, because I think a lot of our businesses have got creative with, a lot of their online order. They've done curbside and delivery, which hasn't been done, whether it's retailers or our restaurants, that they've gotten really creative with some of that. Done a lot more Facebook Lives to promote their product, and really dealt with the supply chain issues and a lot of those other things that we were really happy to support them in getting creative to get spending more locally, because obviously when we were all kind of hunkered down and, online would be a quick way to order Amazon or what have you. So we were really trying to push that local spending, and going into the holiday season, we're really trying to do that now through the Chamber of Commerce. So I think I might've taken my 5 minutes. There's so much to talk about, but yeah, so thank you.
Were there any businesses that were affected that you didn't really expect would be affected, or vice versa? Did you see any businesses that did really well that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of our downtown retailers during the summer months, because our region was able to stay open, we were able to see, I think, more people coming to the area, and a lot of our summer residents coming in for longer stays or their second homes, that they were staying more permanently and they were coming. So I think that drove a little more local spending here. And then also some of our manufacturing that pivoted with the PPE. So, some of that stuff, if, we had one that was making sanitizer and, some of those things that they really got creative and had to really look at their business model and practice and what made sense. So, yeah, I guess it kind of was all over the board because we represent every type of business sector. So I could go on for hours, but I won't.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Jen, did you want to talk about these things from the Ludington perspective? What's your experience been?
Sure. So a lot of our experience here in Ludington was very similar to Manistee and what Stacy said. We also saw that lengthening in stay of our summer residents, because they could work remotely. Kids, I know there were a few families whose kids were going to school remotely, so they could stay. And our reports from the retail standpoint for September, October, many businesses had record-breaking retail, like
wow.
all what we usually consider the quiet season, record-breaking months, which was amazing to me. It made me feel so much better for them after them being shut down for the spring.
Right.
So there were some silver linings. I want to start with those because just
yeah.
the positive spins, right? So the coolest thing that I saw was the businesses getting creative, making online stores. I've been on there for a long time, like online stores, then when our summer residents go away, they can still support you in the off season. And they did that. So many of them added those features this year or bumped them up or started adding new services online. The restaurants were adding online ordering. We're a very traditional community. We're not a high tech, and we are a very small town, and that's how we are. We're authentic and old school, and it's fine. People love it. So it was great to see some of that technology use come into play, and hopefully it's something that will stay in the future. Another thing that I loved was seeing the businesses collaborate. We saw 4 new businesses come in during the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
Ludington Hobbies, Sweet Peach Boutique, the Refinery, and Everest Athleisure ended up taking over 108 Threads. But immediately those businesses started getting into the community. They started teaming up with other longtime businesses and vice versa for events, or we like to call it here ping-ponging. Telling other people about their business, the business next door, and just sending people in different directions. So that collaboration is something that I like to see all the time, but I feel like it helped just with the morale too of businesses that were scared and not sure how long this is going to last or whether they were going to be in business at the end of all this. And then the third thing, just seeing our community do the exact same thing and come out in droves to support the businesses when they were shut down. We did a gift card promotion. We actually did 2 rounds, and we totaled $25,000 in gift certificates that were purchased through us, and then we purchased them directly from the businesses so that they got that money instantly. And that was in the spring, March and April. And then in addition, we had sponsors that donated money so that we could incentivize people to purchase the gift certificates by offering them one of our downtown dollars in return. So we gave it away an additional $7,500 in those gift certificates. So the total was over $30,000 that we were able to pour into downtown Ludington. And that's because, one, the sponsors that allowed us to do this, but the people that spent the money to buy the gift certificates and support the community. So that was there were some good things. We're coming together as a community, and we'll get through it, right?
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love that. Focus on the positive.
Exactly. That's all we can do. So, yeah, I mean, I have some other stats, but I don't want to hog the panel. So if you have questions.
I'm always interested in statistics. I don't.
Me too. One thing we did notice, there was a big swing in what businesses were affected from the downtown standpoint. Now, the chamber, like in Manistee, works with the whole spectrum of businesses from SCORE to big manufacturing companies that have been here for a long time. We primarily work with small mom and pop shops. We have about 50 retail shops, 30 food service, and the rest are all professional services or beauty services. So we have about 200 businesses. Obviously the food service took a huge hit, not being able to be open at all, or right now only being now shut down again, but being able to only be at 50% all summer. Our bars and our gyms that couldn't be open for months, we're going to see the biggest hit there. And now they're getting creative, which they have to stay in business. And again, we're seeing neighbors support neighbors to do this too. the retailers, while they're struggling with supply chain and the cost of what goods they can get, they seem to be economically doing a little bit better. They can, they can have those online stores, and they were allowed to open. So really it's not affecting everyone the same way. And trying to come up with a plan that's completely different for every business, and some even in the same industry, and trying to help them or guide them, or like Stacey said, just trying to put the orders into something that everybody can understand. I love the bonus about the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services taking over is I love their infographics, because I feel like I don't have to do as much reading through all the pages anymore. So that was like so appreciative, and it's so easy because it's just laid out in layman terms that everybody can understand. We did see a decrease in hotel profit for this year, obviously, in the economic growth section. And it's basically just because they were down in the April, May, early June section. They actually had really strong numbers for July through October, so that helps make up for some of that, but obviously they're still like a 30% down from 2019.
Yeah.
And then from our organization standpoint, we generally bring in $20,000 to $30,000 profit from our events, from our big events every year. And we are building a plaza renovation in the farmers market, and we don't have that extra income this year. So getting creative with that, my job almost completely changed, from planning events to trying to be there for the businesses and support them, and come up with creative ways to give everybody some money.
Right. Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Jamie, let's pivot to you and talk a little bit about your experience at Ludington Bay from the specific business that you're in.
I always like to talk about the good stuff too.
Yeah.
We opened, Ludington Bay opened up in May of 2016. So we were really looking forward to our fourth summer going into the summertime. And then sure enough, 2 days before St. Patrick's Day, we were forced to shut down. And I remember this specifically, like, should we still have a pub crawl? Should we still have this stuff? And these are things that you got to think about. It was tough. Right. So we immediately shut down, obviously, the 16th of March, and had to switch completely from a full bar restaurant to carry out. A brewery like this, you're just not used to having to put everything in a package and send it out the door. You're not making food for that. Lots of things have to, you're not going to put salmon in a to-go container and have it as a to-go thing. So there was a lot of relearning when it came to actually the restaurant part of Ludington Bay itself. When they did decide that we could reopen, which is funny because Mason County couldn't open as soon as Manistee, so that was tough too. People would come down from up there and say, "Well, you're not open." Well, I don't understand. Or oh, we're still. The division of the whole state was a little weird for all of us too. But I'd have to say. Jen, I'm glad you brought up the gift certificates. The city has done nothing but help all of these businesses down here. I think I counted at one point there were 6 restaurants that were open in town. We had 3 of our big ones that just decided for whatever reasons that they weren't going to open this year, right in the middle of town, and that's hard. So we went from 9 big restaurants down to 6. I'm sorry, I'll say 6. Maybe it was 9, but that's a huge loss when the three of your biggest ones decided that it just financially and there are other reasons that they weren't going to open. It helped. We all saw much bigger attendance and profits than we thought we were going to. But it's still difficult. It was still difficult for us to manage. You have people that are waiting in lines, people who are coming from Chicago, people who are coming from across the state, and because they're on vacation, that they may have felt like, I don't need to wear a mask. I'm your little small town. They're on vacation, and they felt like that they don't need to do those kinds of things. Because I think at the time our rate was, we had 3 cases in all of Mason County at that time. And so it was a constant battle with that. People just asking people just to wear a mask to come into our restaurant was extremely difficult. We also decided that it was very important for us to make sure that we were open 7 days a week. Not only for us, but for the community. And because it was so tough with the clientele that were coming in, we needed a day, just a mental health day, just to close on Tuesdays, so that our staff that was constantly just getting, I'm just sitting at my table. Why do I have to wear a mask? Why do I have to do this? We had to have a day where we could decompress and remember why we're in this business, because we are in the hospitality business, that we needed that day of rest to do that. And it turned out in the end that it worked out for us. We still saw great numbers, as Jen said, in June, July, and August. But I'd say March and April, it was tough. I mean, that's quite a turnaround. But again, the fact that when we did get to reopen in June, the city we went out and asked for a larger patio space, and they were kind enough to give us barriers so that we could expand our patio space from nothing to at least just be able to sit 20 more extra people in there. But now now that it's colder, we're getting less traffic in here. It's a little bit tougher, and then all of a sudden you come Sunday night, and they've decided that we're gonna be done for another 3 weeks. So overall, we've had to be closed in indoor seating for 4 months technically. It'll be, if you measure in March, half of March, April, May, June, part of June, and then part of November into December. That's 4 months out of the year. That's a long time. We'll get through it. Like there's nothing you can do but adapt, right? Mm-hmm. We missed the events, but luckily I feel like people were still coming to Ludington because they too wanted a vacation. They too wanted to get away. So we did see a lot of people coming in here. And they ate fast and got out because I think they got tired of waiting in line, and there's no bar seating, so you're not having beers for 2 hours. You get in, you get out, and we're flipping tables. So right. It's looking good. But one other thing that I just not take up too much time is the brewery aspect of the whole thing. We're a brewery. We distribute through the entire state of Michigan, and it wasn't just the tap room that was affected by COVID. It was our brewery itself. We saw that when they shut down in March, that we distribute all through the west side of the state, and then we started over in the Detroit area. So when all restaurants shut down, that means we weren't selling kegs of beer to bars and restaurants. That meant that we lost probably 35 to 40% of our distribution sales because those people were not buying beer from us at that time. And that turned everything into package sales. And what we had found is people that in March and April, they would go to the grocery store and they'd buy cases of beer. They'd buy a 24 pack of Busch Light. They'd buy a 20 of Natty Light. As many big package beers as they could, and the craft business kind of took a little decline because people were worried. Like, I need to have 48 Miller Lights in my refrigerator, not necessarily a 6-pack of Djibouti or whatever it is that we. We found as the warmer months came, May and June, we launched our Badger Blue in May, which was outstanding. It's a beer that we collaborated with the Badger. It's a blueberry cream ale, and it blew up. It blew up so fast that then we had supply chain issues. We tried to get our more puree from California, and we couldn't get it nearly as fast enough as we wanted to because it took time for all of that stuff to get here. So, like I said, as the warmer months came through, people were buying more craft. People felt more comfortable to go to the grocery store to, mix it up a little bit. That
kind of makes me think about when you're talking about supply chain. I'm wondering, Tyler, have you had any problems with your supply chain?
Yeah, actually, as far as when this whole pandemic started, we shut down for however many, I think it was like a month or something like that because of the whole construction thing. We finally got back going, but because everybody else was shut down, like our lumber suppliers and all of our like nails and screws and all that kind of stuff, all the prices went skyrocketed just because they're so hard to get. But yeah, I mean, supplies, they're costing more money. They're also taking longer to get to us. So that's kind of pushing our jobs back and stuff like that even further. But other than that, I mean, we don't really have, it's kind of the opposite, I guess, of the previous ones. We don't really have a lot of people in contact, I guess. It's just us and, the other guys that we have. So we're actually seeing skyrocket numbers as far as business goes. Like, we've been busier now than we ever have been because people are staying home. They're thinking of, remodels that they want to do to their house or yard work they want to get done or just small jobs around the house that they, didn't want to do or couldn't do. They're having us do it. So we're booking out probably late of next year already just because we're so busy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And like I said, I think Jen hinted on this as well. People aren't going, like, all the snowbirds aren't going down south for the winter and stuff like that anymore. They're staying local, which again is providing more people locally to stay here, which means more business and stuff like that for us. But yeah, like I said, people are just busy at home because they can be, work from home and stuff like that. They're just thinking about what can I do to my home to, improve it, or like you said, lawn care or whatever it may be. So like I said, we've been busier now than we've ever have been, which is good, but only having 5 people total kind of puts a toll on us as far as the workload and stuff. But and then I can't remember who, it might've been Jamie or Jen, but doing the online orders. We go through like Lowe's and Home Depot and, Carter Lumber and stuff like that. And they're doing the online orders for us as well. They're even delivering supplies to us so we don't have to go, as minimal contact as possible, which is nice. But the online has been helping a lot. We can just order all of our supplies we need for that one job. They'll deliver it to us and we're ready to work. So it's been kind of nice as far as that goes. But again, like I said, the downside is we're busy, but that's a good thing too. So, but like I said, I'm not obviously the owner. Adam knows a little bit more about what's going on than I do, but I've been working for him for about a year now. And that's kind of what I've seen since the whole thing started. So we've been busy, which is a good thing. But
even in construction, have you had to take COVID precautions? Like, has anything slowed down or been more difficult from that?
Well, as far as would you go to somebody's house to like bid a job or see how much it would be to, do like, as far as estimates and stuff like that, obviously we wear masks just to, keep them comfortable, keep us comfortable kind of thing. But other than that, we're working with the same 5 guys every day. Obviously if somebody feels sick or, something like that, they stay home and get tested and stuff like that. But so far, I mean, knock on some wood, we haven't had too much to deal with as far as that aspect of it goes. So
That's great.
yeah, I don't think that was my 5 minutes, but I wasn't really prepared. So
That's okay. That's all right. So I'd like to open it up to questions from our audience members. If you have any questions, you can either raise your hand and I can unmute you, or you can type it into the chat and I can read it out to our panelists and our audience here. What would you like to know? Okay, so Mike has a question. Have you had any problems staffing your businesses, Jamie or Tyler?
as far as the construction side goes, we haven't really had any issues. Like I said, we would like to have more people working, but the same 5 guys that we've had seem to work for us.
Mhm.
We would like to have more people, obviously, but we just haven't really been having the need for it, I guess, because we're not that busy being a small business as of right now. So I would say it's pretty neutral for us.
Right, that's probably a big decision to add someone to your team. Yeah. Jamie, what about you?
In the restaurant business, people are always coming and going, and yes, it is always hard to find people to work. Luckily, we've been busy enough that people want to stay here. We've got many employees that have been here since day one. But yes, yeah, it is always hard to find people who want to work, and it's tough that we're a couple weeks from Christmas, and then we had to put everybody on.
Yeah,
So
that is hard.
I actually have a question for Stacey.
Yes.
And I'm sure Jen would probably say the same thing. Are you finding that your businesses are collaborating a little more? I personally have collaborated more with our other restaurants in town than we ever had before. It's time that we all are coming together. As much as I hate it when they always say that, but are you finding that?
Yeah, we actually are definitely finding that too. I think Jen mentioned the silver lining, and that has been one thing that's been really wonderful. We started having, I think there were like once a week merchant meetings. So bringing all our merchants, and then we added any of the restaurants and basically the downtown. And then they started extending it out to countywide as well to bring any interested small businesses in. And then my marketing coordinator for the chamber actually worked with another merchant to organize kind of the Manistee County Christmas. So they're trying to draw out like a long, holiday season of local spending and shopping. And, I don't know if you're all familiar, but we have the big Sleigh Bell weekend. That's one of the signature events in Manistee that draws thousands of people. So they got to get creative with not seeing that traffic, and how do we still keep those numbers coming, but into, not physically here because we can't and we want to be safe. But so they started organizing that uniquely together, and they've had a lot of buy-in where everyone's kind of getting excited, and it's not just downtown. They're trying to extend it more countywide. And then we also started a Manistee County cash program, kind of like your gift cards, so that, again, we're trying to target, corporate sponsors or anybody locally or anywhere that really wants to sign up. They can sign up on our website, but it puts those local dollars back in our community so our businesses can survive. And especially, Jen, I'm sure like going in through those winter months, they're tough. And then you add this on top of it. We want to make sure that we can sustain our businesses here and do anything to help, again, those local dollars going. So to answer a long-winded question for you, but yeah, we've seen a lot more. Everyone's just trying to, like you said, work together and help their neighbor, because, we all live here, and we want to make sure that our community succeeds and gets out of this healthy and safely. So.
Yeah, on that winter note, that's one thing that we've said from the very beginning, that we were nervous about what, not necessarily the last few months, but what are we going to see in the spring if our businesses didn't make enough to get it through January, February, and March, and now with another shutdown in place too. So just trying to get creative and encouraging that shopping local. We did a gift guide this year, the downtown. We went and took pictures of gift ideas all around all the businesses, and we put that up on our website, and you can filter the gift guide pictures by different types of interests, so people can browse from home and get an idea of what they can find downtown and direct them to online stores or downtown merchants once they've gotten some ideas and they know where to go. So trying to streamline that for those that aren't putting together online stores. So yeah, just trying to think outside the box and keep the momentum going through this, not just the holiday season, but through the winter months as well. And there's been a good response, I think, too, from our residents and anybody that loves Ludington, or I'm sure Manistee too, that they want to shop local this year. I even heard some national statistics that showed that people were going to be more likely to purchase from their local stores this year. So.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of outreach too with our community. Like, how can we help? If they're doing well, how can we help our businesses? How can we organize something where, we can go downtown or go to Onekama or Cal, any of the other communities to really support those businesses. So, yeah, it's really kind of cool to see everybody come together like that, especially considering their time we're in. But it's been challenging for all of us. And I'm going to jump on. Jen mentioned the events. That's been one thing, like our chamber does a lot of events too, that it's been challenging just looking at, all those pieces that go into that and bringing people here and trying to generate revenue for your businesses, our organization. That's been a challenge too, but that's where we've, as a chamber, have pivoted some of our business assistants and really looked at, hey, what makes sense for our community and how can we help? So it's kind of opened the door to, like you said, a little more creative ideas for what we're all doing. And just something little that I saw at one of our businesses, you said traditional. I think you used the word for Ludington traditional. I went to send a couple of our business and they started using the QR code. And I was like, well, this is an amazing idea. Like, just with your phone, I'm like, why haven't we, so I think just those little things that made a difference. I mean, they still had some on hand for people that don't have a smartphone or what have you, but just something that made it easier, that you're not printing and wiping down, and just, those little things that maybe we could go to other places that they're already doing. But I think it was kind of cool to find, see some of that, and the delivery in the winter. Like, if we can keep some of that going, I will be more than happy. And I'm sure they'll get a lot of community support. So
We've said that too. Like, we hope there's some of these things that stay even well beyond the pandemic that, that we're enjoying.
Absolutely.
I remember sitting around the conference table at City Hall with all community leaders. We had Brandy from the chamber here, our new city manager, the chief of police, who was on his way out into retirement. And I remember Chief Barnett saying, as we're deciding whether or not we're canceling all of our St. Patrick's Day festivities, that we have to look at the good that's going to come out of this. And he, even before, 2 days before they shut anything down, said that you're going to see people working together and neighbors helping each other. And it made me smile. And I think about him through this whole thing, that he's right. And it's been awesome to see everybody come together and support each other. Keep it up.
Stacy or Jen, do you think these changes in like events or even revenues are going to change things when the pandemic is over? Like, say, next summer or fall, hopefully we can have events again. Do you kind of see a return to business as usual, or do you think things are going to stay changed?
Want to go? Okay. I think honestly it'll probably be an ease in, even if the restrictions are lifted. I feel like there's going to be a public, the public is still going to have to make those decisions, and they're still going to be thinking about whether or not they're safe. So I anticipate an ease back in, and we're kind of preparing for that. We've already been talking about events for 2021 and even 2022 and how those are going to change, or how we can change them so that we can spread them out a little bit and make people more comfortable.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think, and then it also makes you look at your event too, and what, different things can come out of that. What makes sense, what's profitable, how can you help? Yeah, and some of this stuff, I think a lot of people are looking at doing, virtual because they can now, and they're like, why didn't we do this before? And so I think there's just going to be different ways to engage the community and people involved in events. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. We're also planning our 2021 to see what we keep, what we change, and what's virtual, what isn't. So yeah, it'll be a different way of thinking for our community, but I definitely think we'll be keeping some of those signature events around that everybody loves. Just may look different.
Anyone from our audience have a question at this point? I don't want to talk over anyone. While we're waiting, Jamie, I wanted to ask, what is it like to reopen the business? Is there a lot of work that goes down into shutting down and then reopening?
Yeah. So, we got the announcement on Sunday that we were going to be done Tuesday night at midnight. You already have a product here. You already have food here, and
right.
So what do you do with that? So we're going to continue with a full menu, and then knock it down to just the basic, like what's going to be good for carry out. I mean, it's
right, like you said, not the salmon.
Yes, yeah. And then you have to have more bags. You have to have more silverware. I mean, that was another thing, a cost when we were probably one of the few, and we did get a lot of flack for it. We were probably one of the few restaurants in town that didn't go back to using real silverware and real plates, and people were upset about it. But we felt that we didn't want to put one or two of our employees in I'll call it harm's way of having to wash dishes and utensils every day after 100 people, 200, 400 people had eaten here. So there was extra cost that was built into each dish that we supplied.
Yeah, wow, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of extra.
A lot of hand sanitizers all over the place. Yeah, it was quite a bit. I'll even go back even to just the brewery itself. We can't even, at this point, we have no cans. There's no 12-ounce cans. Gentlemen, you guys return your returnables. We can't get cans to put our beer in it right now. We're almost going to be January before, and it's not just us. It's all over Michigan. It's all over half of the country. We can't get aluminum cans to put our beer in at this point. So,
do you think that's because the can returns?
I keep saying that. I don't think so. No, I actually think it's just supply issues from throughout the world. We just can't get it.
Oh wow.
I don't think that's what it is, but I always say that I have a mountain full in my
I know. My truck
could be melted down.
Yeah.
That that has been a common thing across the board too, is businesses having problem getting either the length of time with the supply chain or just products that they can't. I remember at one point there was one business, they're like, we had such a good September. I don't know what we're going to put on the shelves because we can't get any of our orders in for October. Like, so it's, I don't really know. I haven't heard a good reason for that. Like why so many things are backed up.
I went to Meijer just to look for a deodorant and couldn't find the one I always had, or even cottage cheese. You know, it's just, is there a cottage cheese shortage 2 weeks in a row? Huge.
Yeah, there are weird items still missing from the grocery shelves, like things that you never would have expected to disappear so quickly and not return.
Yeah, I couldn't actually find Miller Lite in cans about 4 weeks ago. Then I knew we were in trouble. If I can't find Miller Lite in cans, we're all
if they can't get cans either, we're all in trouble.
Exactly. So, and you know that, and if there is a plus of anything, if there's a silver lining, our brewmaster Corey said today, he goes, unfortunately, there are a lot of other breweries that have not been as fortunate as we have in the last year that did have to shut down our hop supply. We've got 1 million different hops that we can get now because the demand for the hops are not there. Which is sad, but it's true. We can more different hops that we can.
Yeah, it's a silver lining for you. Yeah.
That is one thing I want to mention. I mean, it's not a political thing at all, but I remember, because Jamie, you said how stressed out, and it wasn't just at Ludington Bay, how stressed out the frontline workers of the service industry were. The younger employees are often in the hostess or host positions. The brunt of, and I said it's because people are hangry. The retailers were like, we don't really understand why. And like, they're hungry, they're waiting in line, they're taking the brunt of all of this anxiety and anger. And I remember when the governor laid down the mask mandate, and like it was like this sense of relief. Like I could just feel the tension lift of all the businesses that were like, you know, now we don't have to, this isn't our decision anymore. We don't have to argue with anybody. Now it is. So take the political out of it, because I know some people don't agree with it, but just from the morale standpoint of what it did for the employees and the managers and the businesses that had to make those hard decisions and deal with the difficult people, that was huge.
Absolutely. You're totally right on. And I think in Ludington, all the other restaurants, we all came together, and we knew when we sent the party of 6 away that weren't going to wear their mask, that they weren't going to be served. James Sport was going to say the same thing, Blue Moon. They all were, go back to your boat, or but yeah, you're going to be hungry because everyone else is enforcing this. And so that was really great here in Sounds, that we all had each other's back.
Yeah.
Speaking about our staff members, do you have any tips on improving or lifting morale among staff members? I know, even at my own workplace, sometimes it can get very, doom and gloom. It can get very, like bogged down, and people that have, might have COVID, or just the difficulties of, wearing a mask all day. And anyone have any tips on how to, create a more positive atmosphere?
We give a shift beer every night.
I don't know if that would work for my staff here. It's a great idea, though.
not anything that we do, but my husband works for a bigger company, and they've always done they call them the Office Olympics. So they were getting creative with little competitions. They did desk decorating contest, bring the weirdest item to work day. There were some great pictures for that. But just trying to be, I think trying to be a little more lighthearted and have some fun. I did see some of the other businesses taking days off when they could and still trying to get their employees together outside in a safe way, just to spend time together, not in that environment, the stressful environment.
Right.
I think we've seen that with some of our businesses, kind of the same thing where they, you mentioned earlier that you had to close for a day just to like regroup. And I think we've seen that from some of our restaurants that did the same, or other businesses, just because that was a nice way to, staff's just been going with limited amounts sometimes and all the extra things added. So they've done some of that. And other businesses I heard gave, little bonuses to staff just to kind of keep them engaged. And, my staff here, we'd be like, hey, I'll get you lunch, or, hey, let's go patronize one of our local restaurants or something, just to, stop working, put your computer down, de-stress, or let's go take a walk or something, just because I think everybody needs that right now. So yeah, it's been, I think everyone's kind of trying to do something a little different and unique for their businesses. So.
Absolutely, yeah. And as we wrap up here, I wanted to know, what would you like the community to know about how to support our local economy and local businesses?
I'll go. No one else is jumping at it, so we're all getting tired, baby. I mentioned earlier, Manistee County, we started the Manistee County Cash Program. So if you go to the Chamber's website, manisteechamber.com, you can purchase gift cards right online, get it on your phone, and support the local businesses that are participating. And then hopefully we continue to add more to that program. And then just Manistee County is open for your business. And please join us for Manistee County Christmas. So that's how you can support. And just for the County Cash Program, it's all businesses anywhere from like a hardware store. We're trying to get, nail salons, everything, to take a wide range of businesses so we can support all industries in our community. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Yep, and I would mirror that. We have a similar program. They make great Christmas gifts because if you're not sure what to buy, there is such a broad spectrum of businesses that will accept them. Just remembering that our small businesses are your neighbors. They are the people that support your organizations, that support your school teams, and I mean, that's always been the case, but that circle of buying local and how that affects our community is important. And it's a perfect time of year to go explore. Many of them have online stores, so you can go to downtownludington.org and browse the directory of what kind of businesses we have. That gift guide is up there as well to get some ideas. Yeah, and just go downtown.
That's great. I've got some shopping to do. Jamie?
I like the gift guide. I might steal that from Manistee.
Go for it.
Just kidding. Or well, I guess form of flattery. We might borrow that idea.
I have no problem with that. I steal just as many ideas as I come up with, so it's all good.
Jamie or Tyler?
Drink local. Drink Michigan craft beer. If it's not ours, Manistee, drink.
That's great.
Yeah, I guess again, construction aspect, totally different world than what you guys are used to, but keep thinking of, renovations around the house, keep us busy. We always like work, so that's always a good thing. But yeah, like I said, support local businesses, definitely support these ladies down here, and stay safe is all I can all I can add to it. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all so much for participating. I really, really appreciate it. It was great to, put a local faces and stories on something that we hear about so much in the abstract to really know what's going on and the things we can do to help. So thank you so much for being here. And like I said earlier, this will be posted on the YouTube channel for West Shore, and it'll also be linked on the Facebook page. And yeah, thanks so much, and thanks to our audience.
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for
Thank you.
inviting us.
have a great
You guys
night.
were fun too. Thanks.